So it's been about 3 to 4 years since I've gatekept from you guys on how to get these tones. All I can say is that I apologize. I am very lazy and I don't have a lot of motivation so far. With that aside, I will be re-uploading the old tutorials. You can still check those out. The difference from my old tutorial to this new one is that I'm using sort of a different mindset on how I'm going to achieve these tones, which I find makes more sense. For more gear context, this is the guitar I'm using for my tracks. This is a Music Man Sterling JP100D, and I'm using DeMart steel pickups right here. I don't know the model number. I'm just going to show it on the screen. And the audio interface I'm using is the Behringer UMC 204HD. And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to share with you how to install these plugins or how to set up your audio interface. I'm only here to share with you my thought process or my workflow on how to get these tones on Reaper. If you are having trouble and you do want to find out more on how to get tighter tones, you may comment it down below and I will try to answer as much as I can. So this is my workflow for Right Lightning. It's simplified, and I did take this from my And Justice for All on Right Lightning project. If you want more details on that, you can check out my Patreon where I would be covering my guitar tracks, lead tracks, bass, drums, and so on. But for now, this is a simplified workflow for the guitars. I have 3 buses in here. There's one main bus, and there are 2 smaller buses inside that, which is side tracks and mid tracks. In each of these buses, I have 2 guitars recorded, so there are 4 guitars in total, and then I would have a room track. Let's start with the side tracks. This is where I would actually get the main Right Lightning sound, the main references. I have the guitars panned left and right at 100%. Let's take a look at the signal chain for the guitar in here. I'd first start off with a denoiser just to remove any of the signal from my guitar DI. After that, I have a compressor plugin. This is the LDC2 Compander. You could use other compressor plugins. You don't have to use this specifically. The preset here is Guitar Roof, and in general, this is just pushing the signal much stronger in the mix. After that, I would have my main guitar amp plugin. This is Mega Fuzzy Mark IV, and I think this has a better yield. Years ago, I used Emissary, but I realized that it's actually very muddy. This, I find, gives a very good chug in general, and it's actually free, so you can use that. Things to take note is that I would put the gain at 10 o'clock. Because of the compressors, I would dial it back so it becomes much cleaner in the mix. The PA drive or the preamp drive is at 4 o'clock. What this actually does is it pushes the guitar signal much stronger. If you push it all the way to max, it does change the tone in general and it sounds kind of ass. So I have it at 4 o'clock where it's about to change tone. The mid and treble is at 10 o'clock just to give better clarity to the tone. And I have presence at 9 a.m. And finally, I have my impulse response loader, NAD IR. So the IRs I'm using right now is actually from Matthias. I'll link his channel below. He has really good tones. Right now I'm using the Right Lightning IR. This I find has the best yield for the whole tone. The settings, I have a high pass at 120 Hz. There's no low pass, but there is a resonance at 50%. So it just gives more brightness to the whole tone. And finally, in the guitar bus, this is a simple EQ, just to cut some of the pesky parts in the whole mix for the side tracks. This is just used to control out the low mids, and a bit of highs. Let me give you a demonstration of how the side tracks sound like without the EQ, without the compressor, and then with them on both. Just to point out, I am using the isolated tracks from my And Justice for All on Right Lightning. Alright, let's move on to the mid tracks. The purpose of the mid tracks here is just to give more of the backbone for the whole tone. Sonically wise, it's not as bright as side tracks and it's not as defined. But when you put it together in the mix, it sounds immaculate. So I have the guitars panned at 70% both left and right, and the volume is just 1 decibel softer. Let's take a look at the guitar chain. So again, I have a simple denoiser, nothing special. In the compressor plugin, I am using the preset Smooth Guitar. So compared to the other compressor preset, this is not as hard as the previous one. And this is more, it just gives more of a smooth chug in general. In the Mega Fuzzy amp, the only difference here is that the treble is at 12 o'clock and there is no presence used. And finally, for NAD IR, Alright, I know it's called Nadir, but calling it Nat IR is kind of funny. So I have the fade to black IR. So again, the knobs are the same. Nothing different here. In the guitar bus, I have the EQ, and the EQ here is quite simple. There's only one cut at 600 hertz and a small cut at 1200, just to control that sound. So I'll let you take a listen to what the mid tracks sound like without the EQ and without the compressor and with them on. Let's put the side tracks and mid tracks together and I'll let you take a listen to how they sound like. Let's move on to the main bus, and this is where I would show you my secret tricks. So first off, I have a EQ. This is more for tone shaping, so it gives a different voice. This is what I normally use for my mixes. I do find this is much more pleasing for me, at least. It might sound like ass, but I do not care. After that, I have a CLA76, another compressor, which is legendary. The settings here is just guitar. And you can just take a look at that, I guess. And finally, I have a Virutal Mix Rack. By using these two, it does give that console saturation, which I find is more authentic for the right aligning tone sound. And after that, I have a Revival, just to give a little bit of shimmer and more thickness to the whole tone. And finally, I have a Send to the room. It's around -7 decibels. I'm just using the simple SAR IR, using the studio settings. And the mix is at 100% wet. And after that, I do have an EQ at the end. It's just a simple high pass at 160 hertz, just to remove any of those unwanted bass noise in the mix. So I'll let you take a listen to it with the whole bus effects. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. I will be putting back my original tone tutorials. I did take a look at them and they were pretty funny. My humor was something else, to say the least. I'll point out that you can still use the alt tone tutorials for mixing wise, but it is outdated. I wouldn't recommend it. But then again, you don't have to follow a specific rule and you can always do whatever you want to achieve a sound that sounds great. But there are some things that are quite outdated and are not really the best rule of thumb when it comes to making these tones or when it comes to mixing wise. But then again, I just finished my internship, so of course I'd be very burnt out. I do hope I can push out more videos again, because honestly it's quite fun. And I hope to see you guys very soon in the next tutorial, which will be And Justice for All. It's in the works. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you guys, because in my previous project, it's very complicated and I don't think you guys would like that. So please check that out soon. And maybe a Master of Puppets work or a tone tutorial might come out soon. I haven't done that yet, and honestly I can't wait to do it soon. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for still supporting me after all these years. It's been like 7 years, man. That's insane. Alright, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.